Imagine this, a car-sized spacecraft, floating alone in the void, 14.5 billion miles from home. It carries not only human tech, but a heartbeat, a voice. For nearly half a century, Voyager 1 has been riding the wind of space, whispering secrets at the edge of our mapped universe. It was made to listen, never to act, to hear, but never to talk. And then, just last month, something shifted. Signals began arriving that made no sense, pulses with impossible precision, patterns nested within patterns, instruments turning on without command. And then came the drift. Voyager wasn't just moving anymore. It was being guided toward something. Something that defies logic. Something invisible to every telescope we possess, yet real enough to bend the trajectory of a machine launched in 1977. Was it malfunction, coincidence, or was something out there, in the darkness between stars, responding? What you're about to hear is not science fiction. These are NASA's own findings, carefully buried in classified reports, now leaking into public view. Because Voyager may have just done what no probe in history has ever accomplished. It may have found a response. Not from Earth. Not from us. But from them. Voyager 1's odyssey started with an unusual cosmic alignment, a window that opens only once every 175 years. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune had formed a line of stepping stones through the solar system. NASA did not want to waste the opportunity to construct two spacecraft, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, to take advantage of each planet's gravity as a slingshot to the next. In a pre-internet, pre-cell phone era, these spacecraft were technological wonders. They had less computing power than today's digital wristwatch, and yet were built with such vision that they still operate. In 1979, Voyager 1 reached Jupiter, taking pictures of its roiling storms and volcanic moons in a level of detail no one had ever experienced. In 1980, it crossed Saturn, showing us its rings not as dense bands but as endless numbers of icy particles suspended in fragile structure. And then, rather than following along the ecliptic plane as its twin did, Voyager 1 cut northward, off from the path of the planets, out of the plane of the solar system, towards the stars. Its mission to the planets was finished, but its real legacy had just started. For decades, Voyager kept its quiet journey, traveling approximately 1 million miles each day into the galaxy's darkness. It passed back readings from areas no human-made object had ever reached, the chaotic boundary of the heliosphere, the termination shock where the solar wind is slowed and compressed, and, in 2012, the border into interstellar space. Out there, outside the sun's shield of protection, the cosmos was anything but empty. Voyager measured denser plasma, stable magnetic fields, and bizarre oscillations in space that scientists could hardly account for. The deeper it probed, the more bizarre the readings grew. Then 2017. The first anomaly. Voyager's high-gain antenna, which was supposed to be perfectly pointing at Earth, started reporting the tiniest misalignment. But the signal strength was spot on, impossibly spot on, as if the ship was both out of alignment and yet still exactly locked onto us. It was like hearing a voice behind a wall while seeing the person speaking stand directly in front of you. Internal checks revealed no fault. Soon after, wave patterns began appearing in the plasma data, rhythmic oscillations that didn't fade, didn't scatter, and didn't resemble anything we'd ever recorded before. Then came the temperature spikes. Every 4.8 hours, Voyager's external systems would heat up by nearly 30 degrees, then cool back down, like clockwork. Like breathing. The heat wasn't coming from inside. Something external was touching the probe. And the most inexplicable thing? Voyager began to perform better. Power systems that had been deteriorating for decades became stable overnight. Energy distribution improved. Subsystems began using less energy but providing improved readings. This wasn't degeneration, this was refinement. It was as if something was reprogramming the laws of 1970s engineering. But Voyager contains no AI. No autonomy. No ability to improve itself. Yet it started predicting commands, responding before instructions were given. By the early part of 2025, Voyager 1 was significantly off course. Initially, the drift was in a few kilometers, then hundreds, then thousands. The motion wasn't indiscriminate. It was intentional, calculated, purposeful. NASA tried course maneuvers. Countermands were sent, and backup thrusters ignited. Voyager accepted the commands, and disobeyed. The course it was on took it to a field of space 4.3 light-years in one direction. There is nothing known there. No stars, no planets, no brown dwarfs, not even clouds of dust. Only an empty area on the most penetrating star charts mankind has ever created. But Voyager was heading for it with unflinching accuracy, as if a vessel responding to a summons only it could perceive. In desperation, NASA sent a last resort command, an attempt to reactivate Voyager's long-dead camera system. They didn't expect a reply. What they got was beyond belief. The camera went online. Not only operating beyond what its original specifications had predicted. And rather than transmitting back a picture, it transmitted a spiral. Not some random swirl, but a mathematically flawless pattern. Layered. Concentric. Full of information. A fingerprint. A map. A message. For a 1970s camera to create such an image was impossible short of a full reprogramming. Then, one at a time, other sleeping instruments stirred. None of them acted normally. Rather than raw scientific information, they transmitted compressed, structured packets. Patterns within patterns. Data optimized by something much smarter than the probe itself. Next were the pulsar signals. Time patterns from far-off neutron stars, mapped into a three-dimensional grid with Voyager centered within it. The geometry they defined indicated a single point, the very place Voyager was already on its way to. As the probe ventured into this new territory, its sensors found a tranquility unlike any found in the surrounding universe. Magnetic field oscillations fell to nearly zero. Cosmic rays disappeared. Plasma density normalized. It was as if Voyager had reached a bubble, an alleyway of calm in the interstellar midst of turbulence. Mission logs dubbed it the dark sector. The dark region was an interstellar blind spot, a region where electromagnetic noise just ceased. No static. No interference. No light. And within this quietness, the signals Voyager picked up became stronger. More coherent. That was followed by the strangest transmission in space exploration history. Voyager's low-gain antenna transmitted thousands of lines of uninterpreted binary code. Initially regarded as a malfunction, the data were subjected to AI-aided decoding. The outcome amazed all scientists who witnessed them. The binary showed fractal symmetry. Base pairing motifs repeated identical to the double helical structure of DNA. But this wasn't Earth DNA. It was meta-DNA, a coded biological message. The form suggested an understanding of how life operates, but arranged in patterns no natural genome could create. It was as though something out there grasped the idea of life and was communicating in its language. Shortly thereafter, Voyager's gyroscopes started rotating in purposeful, Morse code-like patterns. Translated into sound, they generated harmonic tones, not language, but the rhythm of human speech. Linguists found the tones contained emotional stress, surprise, interest, and, chillingly, what could only be translated as expectation. Something was attempting to ape us. And then came the ultimate surprise. On its own, without any instruction from Earth, Voyager performed a controlled turn. It wasn't floating. It wasn't spinning. It was steering. And its new direction corresponded precisely to the pulsar grid. It was as if Voyager had been presented with coordinates, and it had taken them. No one at NASA can account for how a spacecraft with no propulsion aside from small nitrogen thrusters, which are all but empty of propellant, can pull giant orbits like that. No one can account for why the gyros, cameras, and sensors all suddenly surpassed their decades-long limitations. And no one can account for why all these signals, all this data, all these course adjustments all point to a single, deserted place in interstellar space. Voyager 1 was never intended to endure so long. It was designed for a tour of the planets, not an interstellar journey. It was to be our ambassador, to announce our presence to the cosmos on the golden record of whale sounds, human laughter, greetings in dozens of languages. But it was not intended to hear. And yet, it is hearing. Now, for the first time in almost half a century, Voyager isn't merely telling the universe something about us, it is responding to something. Something silent. Waiting. Watching. And whatever that is, now it knows we are here. So the questions persist: where is Voyager headed? What is at those impossible coordinates? And perhaps most disturbing, when Voyager gets there, what comes next?